Hello and welcome to the Animal Enrichment Workshop. Today I'm going to be showing you how I make paper mache balls and then some holiday themed variations for Easter and Christmas. So let's get into it. Alright, so this is my paper mache station. So I like to set up on the ground because I feel like I've got a lot more space when I'm set up like this as opposed to using a table. I put the paper down, newspaper, to stop it getting the ground a bit too much dirty because the glue mix does get a bit messy if you get it everywhere, and it often finds its way onto things, but not as much if you've got the newspaper down. Now I've blown up the balloon to the size I want. Obviously it can be as small or as big as I want it to be, and I've got here a little container of pre-mixed up flour and water. So I've seen there have been people on different enrichment sites, Facebook pages, posting actual recipes to get a glue with like gelatin and heating it up and then flour and stuff like that. Mine is super simple. It's just plain flour and water. And then I get it to the consistency of sort of like a goopy paste. It's hard to describe. You might be able to get it to what you like best. If it's a bit too wet, the paper deteriorates and gets ripped apart too easily. And if it's too claggy and like thick, it doesn't really spread well enough. So you'll find the right consistency as you keep doing it, if you do. So once you've got your balloon, I'll just put that to the side for a second. I've already got my pieces of newspaper cut up, and I'll just, with the sheet here, I'll cut them down the middle, and then when they're all stacked up like that, I just tear them into the right size that I want. And I found, like similar to making the glue, if it's too small, or like it can go either way, but this is the size that I found that works best. If it's a bit too small, you have to put lots and lots and lots, and it takes a bit longer to get all the way around the balloon. And if it's too long, too large, it doesn't fold around as nicely. So once I've set up like this, I'll get a few out, usually 4 or 5. 3, 4, 5, line them up like so. This off, perfect. And then, as you can already see, all over my hands, I use it like a bit like a paintbrush, and I'll just do it like this and paint up my pieces. Perfect, so they're all painted up and ready to go. And I find this to be really fun and therapeutic to make these. Get my balloon and get it as nice and as close to the top knot as I can, and then smooth it out. And then when I get to the next one, line it up as best I can with the slightest bit of overlap, maybe a centimetre or so of overlap. So it's going to be nice and firmed up. If there's any sort of gaps, then it might soften and have soft spots when it all dries up. And I'll keep doing this all the way around the balloon until I've done one complete lap. And this does take a bit of time. Each paper mache ball that I've made, I've got it down to a pretty good sort of art now. It takes about 5 or so minutes for each. So I do use these mostly just for special occasions and holiday enrichment and that kind of thing, which I'm going to showcase for you guys how I can turn them into Easter enrichment, Christmas enrichment, or how I have done, and then you can use your own ideas obviously, or even just for like birthdays or something special and fun, really, because otherwise it can be quite time consuming for what you get, and often the animals can break into them really quickly and easily for the most part. So they're cool, they're awesome, but they do take a bit of time and don't really last as long as I would like them to. So I'm going to continue to paste these on until I've got one lap all the way around, and then I'll give you guys the idea of the next step. Alright, so I'm just putting the last piece on now, as you can see, nice and close to the knot. But the way we've done it, we've left little gaps on either side. So when I've gone round once that way, I then get a couple more pieces. I'll get 3 to show you exactly what I'm doing. Awesome. So these are all glued up. And then where that gap is, I then get it as close to the knot as I can at the top, and then down and over like so. And this really uniform way helps. It's far better than doing it haphazardly, I've found. More efficient in time and in just, the amount of newspaper that you're using. You can do it all over the shop, but once you've done that, you've gone all the way around and then 2 strips down the sides. I've found that 3 layers is the best because 1 or 2 layers and it's really not strong enough. 3 gives it enough strength, and then I've gone up to, for some wedge-tailed eagles, like 8 layers, and I found that really it doesn't make that much of a difference past 3 or so. It still doesn't have an enormous amount of strength the higher and higher you go. So 3 is really your sweet spot as to what I've found. Now, once I've done those strips down, then I start again for the second layer and I put them the opposite way. So I've gone around this way and now I'm gonna go around that way, all the way around, do my 2 side pieces, and then the third layer the same as the first, making sure that I leave only a little gap up the top there, because I can make that hole bigger if I want to put food and stuff in. Almost got distracted by a bird. I did get distracted by it. But once that hole's done, you can make it bigger, but you want it as small as you can, because you can always make it bigger, but you can't make it smaller. Perfect. And then I'll complete my next 2 layers. All right, cool. So I'm at this point now with 2 layers on this balloon. Now I'll put a third one on just to get your stock standard, looks as is, pinata paper mache ball. But when I'm doing holiday enrichment, I'm going to show you guys how I do a reindeer and an Easter egg. For that third layer, for an Easter egg, I'll get some printer paper and cut it into strips like so, and then I'll paper and mache it on the same way I would a newspaper layer, but with the white out. So when it dries up, I can then color on there with, I've used beetroot juice, turmeric and water to get a yellow coloration. You can use blue cabbage boiled up into a water to get more of a blue. You can draw on there with whatever safe dyes you want to use, and you can make it look like a pretty Easter egg. But for the reindeer, which I'm going to show you now, you can keep it as is. I've done this in the past. Putting this brown paper on doesn't change anything. You really do sort of require a nice white color to make your Easter eggs, but the brown here is just going to make a nice uniform brown coloration all over and gives a better looking reindeer. It doesn't matter to the animals at all. It just matters to the person or the public, whatever. It makes it more aesthetically pleasing. So I've done it just newspaper before and then used charcoal to draw some faces on. But I think with this brown paper, it's going to look far nicer, and that's the way I'm going to show you guys today. So do it as highly detailed or as little as you need, but at the end of the day, I don't think the animals care what it looks like. As long as it's going to keep them occupied, it's fun, it's hitting enrichment targets, doing what you want it to do, then you've already won. But I'm going to line these up. I've already done these, and I've got a big long strip of brown paper. Well, here it is actually. And I purchased this from Officeworks. I think you can get similar stuff from Kmart, but Officeworks has the real nice, brown paper in rolls like that. And it's perfect. So I'm going to put this on, brown it up, and then I'll show you guys how I do little extra touches. Alrighty, so here I am with the body of my reindeer. Now, when it's just the newspaper outer, it doesn't matter as much because it doesn't show up as much, but you can see when you've got the brown paper and when you've got the white paper, any bits of glue that go on the outside, they show up a bit. Again, doesn't matter, it's just for human reasons that it doesn't look as good. Now, these are already coated in glue, that doesn't matter too much. These are toilet paper rolls. So I've got 1 roll and cut it in half, so I've got 2 rolls and cut them both in half. And then I've cut along like the north, south, east, west. This is the best way to describe it as. On outer edge, and then push the edges out. So I've got this, flat bits. Now this will be the underside of my reindeer because I'm going to add some feet. It's just little touches I like to do when I make these. Because you can go as much or as little as you want. And then I'll line them up so that there is overlap on the, as you might be able to see, there's overlap here. Whoop. There'll be overlap there, and then there'll be overlap at the back. So when I do get my pieces of paper, I'm going to glue those edges down, and when it goes through the middle, it's sort of like holding them all down in place. So generally about the middle is where you want to place those. And then I'll show you with a couple of these just what I mean, in case it's not already clear. But we glue that down, go through the middle nice and gently. Beautiful. And that holds those down like that. It's already secured them a bit. And then I'll secure from the other midsection. Another glue, like so. Perfect. And then they're secured down. And then I'm going to go along the front and along the sides with some more pieces. So just give me a second. Alrighty, so just finishing up with these last pieces, just going around the outer edges, as you can see, just to secure everything down. And those little bits there that are poking out are then going to get pushed down. Now that is plenty to hold those little legs in place. When it dries, it's going to harden up nicely. They'll be held in place, and even at this point, whoops, your reindeer can stand on those. Perfect. Now I'll show you how to do the antlers if you can, and then show you everything together once it's all done. Alrighty, so with a scrap piece of cardboard, I'm just going to make 2 antlers. Perfect. Depends how long I want them. So the way the antlers are going to work is I'm going to create little cuts in the top of the reindeer's head and then slide my pieces of cardboard in. So they're not going to be super secure, but they're going to be secure enough. But probably want them about half of that length will be good, because I'll go in probably a little bit, and then having that length out the top will be good. So I'll cut about here, and I'll cut. They're not the same length, but just for demonstration purposes, and at the end of the day it doesn't matter. So they're our antlers, you can see those. So they'll be the bits that prop up like that, and then I'll get bits that come out from the sides as well, which is probably going to be about that length, which is perfect. So I usually have 2 on either antler. Perfect. And I'm just using a dob here and a dob here, about so, of the paper mache glue, just the flour and water mix. Put one here and one here at that kind of angle, and then I'll make another one also. Perfect. So with those done, they're going to be stuck in the top like that, but at the moment when everything's wet, I'm going to put all of this outside my other paper mache that I'll make off camera, leave it all out in the sun for a day, or if it's not sunny, a couple of days, just until everything's dry, and then we'll put it all together. But there we go. Cool. All right, here I am with the finished products. This is the next day afternoon. Now this one has already popped. Sometimes it does that, but they're pretty solid already. Being out in the sun all day did wonders for them. So this one, easy. It's already popped, just slides out. That is your general, just run-of-the-mill pinata. It's pretty strong for 3 layers. I absolutely love it. Excellent. Now, these are the ones we have to pop. So just using, scissors, a knife, whatever. You grip onto your knot. Give it a bit of a pop without hurting yourself. Right, and that's deflating in there. Best case scenario, it does this, gets a little hole, and then you can, slowly let the air out and then pull out the finished balloon, like so. Otherwise, if it pops, it can stick to some edges, which is not ideal. Now, this is our Easter egg, or what will be our Easter egg. And then I'll just pop the reindeer, and we'll get to that later. Alrighty, so Easter egg style. It turned out really well. It is similar to an egg shape. So today I've just got 2 dyes that are readily available and easy to make. Now I've got beetroot juice, which is just out of canned beetroot. I use cotton wool. Otherwise you can use paintbrushes or whatever. And as long as you're gently dabbing around, as not to, worst case really is just that you get the paper too wet and it gets torn or it gets a bit mushy and stuff like that. But I'll just dab or draw or do or whatever I like. I'm just going to do a circle design today for this one. I'm not going to do the whole thing, just for demonstration. And then when that dries up, it'll be, yeah, beautiful pink color. You won't see the stains. With my turmeric yellow here, it's the same type of deal. And then just maybe a squiggly line. Now this is turning out to be a bit of a chunky mix. I should have watered this down a bit, but otherwise you get the idea. So I've just mixed turmeric with water there. I would have already done my natural colors video if you want to see how I get the different colors, all natural based colors, instead of using texture and stuff like that. And then go check out that video. But otherwise, I would rather much, words, can't use them today. I'd rather use natural stuff, beetroot juice, turmeric, and all these other natural colors rather than texture and crayons and whatever, pencil, in case it does get ingested by animals. Now, animals I work with have never really ingested this, but it's just in case. And I think it feels far better to use natural products just in case. So that's a bit of a thick mix, but otherwise, yeah, more water and that would have been fine. And then you can draw on that, and then when that dries up, again, yeah, maybe just a couple of hours or something like that, not even a day. It's going to be beautiful pinks, yellows, or whatever colors you want. And you can get sort of like making it look like an Easter egg if you color it all over eventually. All right, now we're working on the reindeer. So with the reindeer, got our dried antlers. It doesn't matter what way they go, but otherwise we'll do them that way. I'm going to firstly maybe draw on a face. I like to use charcoal, as I just mentioned. I'm using natural stuff rather than pencils, crayons, and whatever texture. So I've got a bit of charcoal here just from a fire. I'll draw on about where my nose is going to go. I'll draw on my eyes. I'll just have a look at what I'm doing. Whoa, and that is a bit all over the shop, but again, maybe a big smile there. Very goofy looking, but you get the idea. And then that gives me an idea about where I want to put the antlers. So I want to make it just about that size, if not a bit smaller. So when the antlers are jammed into the head, they're not going to just fall out. Okay, so about there, I guess, is where we're going to put this one. Oops. You can see, jams in nicely. And then about here. For this one. So they're both sitting in pretty nicely. You can bend them around till they get to the right shape of whatever you want. You can then go on paper mache, bits of paper around the edges of the antler, similar to what we have done on the feet, which will secure them a bit better because they can slide around a bit, but at the end of the day, that's good enough for the animal. It gives you that cute sort of goofy, fun holiday enrichment that you're after, and the animal, yeah, just gets their thing. They don't care of what it looks like, but there you go. Awesome. So thank you again for watching. Much appreciated. Hopefully you guys can, get some ideas from this for a range of different species. Paper mache and just pinata, or whatever you want to call it in general, is excellent. As I mentioned, a bit time consuming, but you do get some cool stuff. You can get a bit of variation as you go around with different holiday style enrichment and that kind of thing, ideas with your paper mache. But thanks again, happy enriching, and until next time, bye.